welcome to another video. Technically the second video on the GSXR build, but the first one we're actually going to get into the build. I was going to make this just one long video for you guys, but I think it'll be better if we break it up. So today, I'm just going to do the spark plugs on this 2007 GSXR. First and foremost, we got to get this seat off. Lucky for me, it doesn't have a bolt, so it just comes right off like that. Lucky or unlucky, I don't know, you tell me. All right, next thing we're going to want to do is pretty simple. When you figure out how it works, you're going to take these little tabs off. It's just Velcro there, and then it slides back. And that's how those come off. You gotta do the same thing on the other side. Pull the Velcro off. Slide it right out. Next thing is gonna be this little tank bolt in the middle. For me, it's gonna be a 6mm, so I'm gonna stick that in there. 6mm Allen. Give it a little twist. And the next bolt we're gonna need is the back of the tank. Here, that's not a good angle of that. Let me stick it right in there. So that's gonna be this bolt right here. For me, mine's actually a little bit stripped, but we're gonna do the best we can to try to get this thing out. Hopefully it doesn't completely strip. Hey, you know what? When you get a free bike, this is the kind of stuff that you might run into. So, can't complain too much. Although I really need to get this bolt out. Oh, fuck. Not ideal. All right, guys, this wasn't at all easy, but using a Torx bit, and also a piece of plastic for extra grip, we got this destroyed bolt out of here just in time because I almost thought we were screwed. All right, on to the next thing. All right, now taking a peek under the tank. What I'm seeing here makes me really happy. It looks like everything's not really messed with, like completely untouched. We got all the OEM plugs and tubes and stuff. Now, as you can see, I put a towel down here. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna unplug this fuel pump. So go ahead and pull a fuel hose. I'm gonna pull this tube out. Disconnect that, disconnect this guy. I'll show you my disconnect this one down here. Little vacuum hoses, and then this one's your overflow. Now the tank should just come off. Forgot to unplug the actual fuel pump. That's important. Make sure you get your plugs unplugged. Now I may be struggling with these plugs, but that's a good sign because it means no one's really unplugged them before. But this tank gotta come off. Holy crap, guys, that was so hard. But all right. We got it unplugged. I'm pretty sure that plug's never been unplugged in its life. And we got the gas tank off. Go ahead and set that aside. All right, now I've never taken off an airbox that looks like this one, but it looks pretty consistent with the 13 plus airboxes. So what I'm gonna say is we're gonna go ahead and unplug this clip right here, and then go ahead and unscrew all the screws, and that should give us half the airbox, and then we should be able to take the rest of the airbox out after we do that. I think we gotta take this center bolt out too, because she ain't lifting. All right, now once you got all those bolts around out and the center one out, go ahead and pop these fuses off the ends there, and then she should come right off for you just like that. Wow, that's a clean looking air filter too. That's good news. And unfortunately, we just dropped some of the bolts that we didn't want to drop, but it's okay. All right, gonna take a 10mm to this bolt. And crack it off. I just gotta take the time to say, whoever decided that Phillips screwdriver heads were the best way to secure your airbox onto your throttle bodies, man, I got some beef with you. This is not ideal, but here we go. So as you can tell, it's now dark out. Do yourself a favor, watch the whole video, unless you want to be like me and go get yourself one of these in the middle of your, your work you got going on here, because you're definitely gonna need one of these. You're not gonna get the airbox off without this tool right here. So let's open this bitch up and get right to it. All right, guys, so we finally got the airbox off. It wasn't easy. Good news about that means that it's probably been untouched for most of its life. Looking at the air filter, we can get it out. It's pretty dirty, so it could use a new filter. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not great. So definitely gonna look for a new filter for it. But the focus right now is the spark plugs. I'm gonna put this airbox down, and then we'll go ahead and get to pulling the coil packs off. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do these one at a time instead of pulling all the coils out, just to make sure I know which ones I did and which ones I didn't do yet. So pull this plug. Let's go ahead and pull the coil straight out of there. Got some throttle cables in the way. Give me a second. There we go. Check in there, make sure there's no debris or anything. Make sure it's nice and clean. This one's looking really clean, which is another good sign. Get your spark plug socket in an extension. Go ahead and take your 10mm off. Go ahead and shove her down in there. You can just go ahead and drop the spark plug socket in there if you got the balls. And then stick the extension in there. Lock it in. There you go. Put your ratchet on. She's snug. Definitely snug. Now once I see these spark plugs, I think that'll be the best indication of how this motor's doing. Because the gas tank was nasty, but I think if the plugs look okay, then the motor should be good. If the spark plugs are looking disgusting and like rusted, then I don't know, this motor probably is not gonna run again, but right now, I'm crossing my fingers. I don't think that's what it's gonna look like. I think she'll be all right. All right, let's fish this out of here and see what she's looking like. And it came with a plug. Ooh, oily. Ooh, that's interesting. All right. Well, dirty and oily, number one. Let's look how the rest of these are looking. It's definitely old too, so that's definitely gonna replace that. It's not quite as oily as I thought, but it definitely, there's something in there because it's sticky. I don't know why it's all sticky. But like I said, we'll go ahead and throw the other plug in there and see what happens. All right, we got ourselves a fresh plug. Actually, I'm gonna throw it in the socket. And then go ahead and throw the plug with the socket down in there. Ah! Stick your extension in it. Finger tighten. Always start with finger tighten. You don't want to cross thread anything. Especially not inside your motor. Just give her a little snug. That's good. And you're good. Repeat 3 times. And for the coils, if you're wondering, yes, this rubber cap comes off. You can just rip it right off. Check underneath, make sure it's clean in there. This one is, I wiped it down already. So just go ahead and throw that rubber cap back on and send her down into the hole. Make sure it's snugged in like that. Good to go. Rinse and repeat 3 times. Finesse these wires out of the way. Oh yeah. Well, at least they're looking consistent. Not sure exactly what all that sticky stuff is, but they're consistent. And at least the tip of the plug isn't all oily, because that would be really bad if we saw oil right here. So this stuff I think will be all right. New plug in there, drop her in. That's your extension, good lock in there. I don't know if this one did, seems like it did, but I didn't feel it click. So with the spark plugs, you're looking for consistency, and you want to make sure there's no oil. You want to make sure they're not like white or black. As long as they just look old or new, you're in good shape. You don't want to see too much carbon buildup or corrosion or anything like that on there. That would be really bad. Nice and snug. Pull her out. Back in with the coil pack. A little bit of finessing again. She's in there. Halfway there. Number 4 coming out. I'm gonna pull out number 4 before I do number 3, just because I know number 4 is gonna be harder than number 3. And I just wanna get the hard stuff out of the way, you know? Hopefully we get the hard stuff out of the way. If we run anything hard now, it's gonna be an issue. I forgot to film bringing this one out, but just like the other ones, what do you know? Actually, this one's a little more dirty on the tip. So, I don't know, we'll see. We'll just have to fire it up and see what happens, huh? A couple videos from now, we'll get there. New plug going in. All right, and last but not least, number 3. Coil coming out. There it is. Pull it apart. Make sure your connections are all clean. Wipe them off. Not too bad. Plug her back in. Spark plug socket. And extension. Just like the rest of them, nice and consistent. New plug. Finger tighten with your extension. And then snug it down. Now throw your coil pack back on there. Make sure it's snugged on in. Plug her in. And congratulate yourself, because you've now swapped your spark plug. Give yourself a round of applause for a minute. All right, now get back to work. We got to put this thing back together. All right, so now that you got your new spark plugs in there, you made sure your coil packs are all pushed in really good. You make sure you plugged everything back in where it's supposed to be. You're gonna go ahead and get the bottom of your air box. You're gonna plug back in these, wherever they came from. I don't know where this one came from. Ah, there we go. Plug these tubes back in. You're gonna have one on this side, on your right side. I can't see over here. I gotta move it. So we've just got this one hose to plug in over on this side. Stick her in there. You don't lose your clamp. Get the clamp and scoot her back up there. All right, now that we got our hose back on there, I'm gonna make sure we got these whatever they're called, these fuses. Don't want to lose these fuses that we unplugged earlier. So you got your two fuses. And you got your mass airflow sensor. There it is. Then you got that in one hand. Go ahead and stick the air box back on. Snug it up to your throttle bodies. Make sure you don't got a tube in the way like I did. There you go. And just pressure on down in there. She should snug on in. Alright guys, my phone died, so if you lasted this long, thank you for hanging in there, because you literally lasted longer than the recording device I used for this. I went ahead and finished throwing the air box on there. I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. I still gotta go through the fuel pump, obviously, and go through that nasty ass tank, you know. Make sure I can clean that out. I found these holes right here. It makes it a little bit easier to get to your air box to tighten the phalanges on your, snug up on your throttle bodies, but it's still not very easy, and you're still gonna need a different tool for these inside ones here. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, because we still got a lot of work to get done on this jigsaw to get it running again. Still got to do an oil change, and we got to change the coolant on it. So those two things are definitely going to get done. Probably going to get a new battery for it. So stay tuned if you want to see that in the future. Like, comment, subscribe. Later, player.